For over 43 years, the most consequential conflict on Earth has never once been officially declared. Three nations, Iran, Israel, and the United States, have been locked inside a shadow war so intricate, so layered with broken promises and buried intelligence that most people alive today have no idea how close the world has come to absolute collapse. And what if, right now, in the heart of South Asia, the two most bitter enemies on Earth are sitting across a table, deciding whether civilization gets another chance? What you are about to hear is not speculation. It is documented history that powerful governments have spent decades hoping you would never piece together. Welcome back to Dark Ledger. On February 1st, 1979, a 76-year-old man stepped off an Air France Boeing 747 after 15 years in exile, and within 10 days, he had dismantled a monarchy that had ruled for 37 years. Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini didn't just lead a revolution. According to scholars at Princeton's Near East Studies Department, he engineered one of the most complete political transformations in recorded modern history, replacing a Western-backed monarchy with a Shia theocracy almost overnight. The Shah's regime, which had received over $20 billion in American military hardware throughout the 1970s, collapsed not to foreign invasion, but to the sheer gravitational will of its own people. 10 million souls lined the streets of Tehran that day. 10 million. And two nations, the United States and Israel, watched from a distance, suddenly realizing they had completely misread everything. Israel's relationship with pre-revolutionary Iran had been, by any measure, extraordinary. A $1.2 billion defense cooperation contract was active in 1977, covering missile technology, aircraft systems, and military intelligence sharing. Israeli military attaché Siev had been stationed in Tehran precisely to manage that partnership. But neither Tel Aviv nor Washington had built meaningful intelligence networks within Iranian civil society. Their contacts were confined to the elite, the military brass, the people with the most to lose, and therefore the least willing to speak truth. The CIA's own post-mortem, later declassified, described this as a catastrophic analytical failure of institutional confirmation bias. They were talking only to people who told them what they wanted to hear. And by the time Black Friday arrived, September 8, 1978, when the Shah's army opened fire on protesters in Jaleh Square with official death tolls of 87 and opposition estimates reaching as high as 4,000, it was already too late to course correct. What followed was a cascade of consequences that no strategic planner in Washington or Tel Aviv had modeled. On November 4th, 1979, Islamist students stormed the United States Embassy in Tehran, seizing 52 American diplomats and holding them for 444 days. A hostage crisis that, according to a landmark 2004 study by the Brookings Institution, fundamentally restructured American foreign policy psychology toward Iran in ways that persist to this day. Every diplomatic instinct, every potential opening, every moment of possible dialogue since has been filtered through the emotional residue of those 444 days. This wasn't just politics. This was trauma institutionalized as strategy. Meanwhile, in the Bekaa Valley of Lebanon, during the summer of 1982, something was being born that the world had no language for yet. After Israeli forces, 90,000 soldiers, 1,300 tanks, and 1,500 armored personnel carriers swept into Lebanon in Operation Peace for Galilee. They unwittingly awakened the largest and most politically dormant community in the country, the Lebanese Shia. In Baalbek, with the direct backing of Iran's Revolutionary Guards, an elite force reporting exclusively to the supreme leader, a new organization was quietly founded. It called itself the Islamic Resistance in Lebanon. 3 years later, in 1985, it revealed its public name, Hezbollah. Iran had not simply funded a militia. According to a comprehensive 2006 Rand Corporation analysis of Hezbollah's social infrastructure, Tehran had constructed an entirely parallel Lebanese society. Schools, hospitals, scout organizations, media networks, a counter-state, engineered to produce generational loyalty. On November 11, 1982, an 18-year-old chemistry student named Ahmad Kassir drove a white Peugeot loaded with explosives into the 7-story Israeli military headquarters in Tyre, killing 91 Israeli soldiers and 15 Lebanese prisoners in a single instant. Israeli military investigators, astonishingly, declared the explosion a gas pipe accident, a conclusion so spectacularly wrong that it became, in the words of former Mossad analysts later interviewed by Le Monde, evidence of near-total intelligence blindness toward Shia political militancy. 1 year later, on October 23, 1983, twin suicide bombers simultaneously destroyed the U.S. Marine barracks and the French military headquarters in Beirut, killing 241 Americans and 58 French soldiers in what remains the deadliest single-day loss for the United States Marine Corps since Iwo Jima in 1945. A classified NSA intercept later indicated that Iran's ambassador to Syria had explicitly requested the operation. The request had been granted. For the next 4 decades, this undeclared war moved through every available channel: nuclear brinkmanship, proxy militias, economic strangulation, and cyber warfare. Iran's uranium enrichment program, first flagged by Israeli intelligence in the early 1990s, became the central nerve of global anxiety. The JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, signed on July 14, 2015, after secret bilateral negotiations stretching back to 2012, was the closest the world had come to a genuine structural de-escalation. It imposed strict enrichment caps, verified by IAEA inspectors, conducting over 1,000 inspection visits in the first 2 years alone. Then, on May 8, 2018, President Donald Trump withdrew the United States unilaterally, reimposing sanctions that, according to the World Bank, shrank the Iranian economy by 6% within 12 months and sent inflation surging past 40%. The door that had cracked open. And yet, in the spring of 2025, something extraordinary began to take shape in a city that has historically served as a crossroads of civilizations: Islamabad, Pakistan. Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, leveraging Islamabad's unique position as a nation with credibility in both Washington and Tehran, quietly facilitated a series of back-channel diplomatic contacts between American and Iranian delegations, the most substantive direct engagement since the 2015 nuclear accord. Regional analysts at the Stimson Center and the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace confirmed the broad outlines of these talks, describing them as covering uranium enrichment caps, the status of Iranian proxies in the region, and potential prisoner exchanges involving American nationals held inside Iran. Islamabad, a city that has itself lived at the volatile intersection of great power competition for decades, was now serving as the quiet, neutral antechamber where old enemies were finally being forced to hear each other breathe. Whether this represents a genuine turning point or yet another diplomatic mirage in a landscape littered with broken promises, that answer remains suspended, like smoke above a battlefield that hasn't decided whether it's truly over. For 46 years, this war without a name has shaped everything: the price of oil, the architecture of terrorism, the geography of nuclear anxiety, and the daily lives of hundreds of millions of people from the Persian Gulf to the Eastern Mediterranean. The Islamic Republic of Iran and the United States of America have never once sat across a table and honestly reckoned with the full weight of what they have done to each other and to the world caught between them. What happens in Islamabad, in those quiet, carpeted rooms where translators choose their words with the precision of surgeons, may determine whether the next chapter of this story is written in diplomacy or in fire.